Liberal NDP merger may not be as far-fetched as you might think. Hey everybody, welcome to my channel. I hope you're having a great day. The talk around Canada over the last week has been that the Liberal Party of Canada and the NDP may merge into a single party, or that they may have an agreement for the next election not to run candidates against each other in any particular riding. This came to light after a political satirist and lawyer, Karma Sad, was filmed speaking to protesters outside a Liberal fundraising barbecue. She was speaking about a previous event that she had been to earlier in the week, where she heard strategists talking about the Liberals and the NDP not running candidates against the other party in any particular riding in order to avoid vote splitting. And this was apparently in response to the French elections. Far-left parties joined forces to defeat a centralist Conservative Party in their election. So could that happen here? Well, the short answer is yes, but it's not very likely, at least for the next election. Considering the history of the NDP and the Liberal Party of Canada and some very high-profile former members of each party being associated to both parties, it is actually very possible that they would either merge or have a plan for some sort of coalition. However, due to their current unpopularity, I don't think that this would result in success in the next election. Now, here's why Canadian system is different from the French. In Canada, we only have one election day or one round of voting. In France, they have 2 rounds of voting. They have some sort of preliminary round, and then they have the final round. In the preliminary round, it's not the same as a primary like they have in the States, but it sounds quite similar to that to me. Essentially, what happened is during that preliminary round of voting, the 9 parties that formed the coalition assessed which of their parties would be successful in each particular riding. And then they ran that party in that riding and didn't have anyone from the 8 other parties run against them. This essentially resulted in no vote splitting on the left. As a result, even though the centralist slightly right party, which they call the far right or extreme right, got more seats than any of those 9 parties, because they formed a coalition, they were able to form the government. But as you know, in Canada, we don't have that many parties. We have 3 national far-left parties. We have the Greens, the Liberals, and the NDP. Then we have the centralist party, the Conservatives, and then of course we have the Bloc, which I'm not sure if they're centralists or far-left, but they only exist in Quebec, so they can never form the government. But they may actually become the official opposition after the next election. But that's for another video. Now, the reason why I don't think it would work in Canada is, first, during the last 2 elections, the Conservatives actually won the popular vote. But because of the imbalance in our ridings, and the ridings have less population in Liberal-dominated areas of Canada, this worked against the Conservatives. In the coming election, however, I don't think that's going to be the issue, because the Conservatives are starting to win over a lot of traditionally Liberal ridings. And the fact is, just so many Canadians are so upset with how the Liberals have destroyed our country that they're turning to the Conservatives. The only way coalition could work is if the combined Liberal and NDP ridings resulted in more than 50% of the ridings available. But the polls indicate that won't happen. The Conservatives are just too far ahead. Now, we're still over a year out from the next scheduled election, so a lot could happen. But as we've seen with this Liberal government and with the NDP, they're just not smart enough or capable enough to turn the tide their way. They just can't seem to avoid scandal and making really poor decisions. So the polls show that the Conservatives will have a majority government. That doesn't mean there won't be some shenanigans in the next election or leading up to the next election. It just won't be enough to turn the tide, but it might for the following election or the election after that. But how likely would it be for the Liberals and the NDP to actually merge? To answer that, we have to look back in history and look at how Canadians actually think and vote. And in doing this, we'll also discover why Justin Trudeau is himself a communist. There are a lot of people in Canada who believe that Pierre Elliott Trudeau was once a member of the Communist Party of Canada. In fact, he wasn't. He was a member of the co-operative Co-operative Commonwealth Federation. The thing is, that was a communist party, but it wasn't the communist party. There has been a long history of communist parties in Canada, starting way back in 1873 with the Nationalist Party. Today, nationalist means something a little different. Back then, the Nationalist Party was a far-left socialist party. They lasted from 1873 to 1910. Now, in 1904, the Socialist Party was formed, and they lasted until 1924. And in 1921, the Communist Party of Canada was formed, and they are still in existence today. In 1931, the Socialist Party of Canada re-emerged, and they lasted until 1961. And then came the Co-operative Commonwealth Party. That was a party that Pierre Elliott Trudeau was a member of, and that lasted from 1932 until 1961. But they never really did go away. They merged with a union and became the New Democrat Party. Now, in 1943, another communist or socialist party emerged. It was the Labour Progressive Party, but it was dissolved in 1959. And then in 1970, the Marxist-Leninist Party was formed, and they are still in existence today as well. They were an offshoot of the Communist Party of Canada. And then just this year, 2024, the Revolutionary Communist Party was formed. So as you can see, we currently have 4 parties which are essentially communist, if you count the NDP, which I do, but that's a matter of opinion. However, if you count the Liberal Party of Canada, because many people think they've even gone further left than the NDP, then we currently have 5 communist parties in Canada. So what happened with Pierre Elliott Trudeau if he was a member of the NDP or the Co-operative Commonwealth Party? Well, he was kind of power hungry. So in, I believe it was 1962, maybe it was 1965, I'm not quite sure, he quit the NDP and he joined the Liberal Party, because he knew the NDP had no chance of ever forming the government. So he did it purely because he was power hungry. And this was a guy who obviously raised our current prime minister, or at least he paid somebody to raise them. So I guess the question is, could the NDP and the Liberal Party merge? Certainly, if Justin remains the leader of the Liberal Party, they have a very good chance of merging because of their far left ideology. But how will this affect future elections? It's my opinion that currently the West is moving further and further towards centralist, which in Canada is the Conservative Party. They've seen how destructive the left has been, and although many countries refer to these centralist parties as far right, in actual fact they are centralist. However, if history has proven anything, is that Canadians have short memories, and there are plenty of stupid Canadians who will eventually forget all the damage that the Liberals have done and vote them back into power. In fact, historically, the Liberals have formed the government more often in Canada than the Conservatives have. But that's just my opinion. I'd love to know what you think. Put your comments below. And while you're at it, please like this video, share with your friends and on social media. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.